Good morning. Today is Wednesday morning, the 19th of December, 2012. Here are the headlines in Panama that are worth talking about today. On the headline of La Prensa newspaper, screaming that a former prosecutor of the years of the military dictatorship is the new attorney general in the country. Last night, the executive cabinet, Ricardo Martinelli's cabinet of ministers, appointed Jose Ayu Prado, who was the attorney general, as the new judge of the Supreme Court. And to replace him, they named Ana Belfon as the new attorney general. Well, this woman in the 1980s was a prosecutor who worked during the years of the military dictatorship and when Manuel Antonio Noriega was still in power. Um, and specifically in 1986, she ordered the arrest of a journalist in the La Prensa newspaper. Now, if you've been following the conflict between the Martinelli administration and La Prensa and the owner of La Prensa, eh, Roberto Eisenman, it should be no surprise that he named someone who he can count on to go after La Prensa, because that's exactly what Martinelli wants to do. He's trying to go after La Prensa because La Prensa is mixing news with politics. They are a Panamanista. They're closely associated with the Panamanista political party, and they are attacking Martinelli relentlessly. So it really should be no big shock or surprise there that once again business mixes with politics, mixes with the justice system and the laws and the public ministry and the Supreme Court. Martinelli now has 5 out of 9 Supreme Court justices sitting on the Supreme Court. So these cases that are going to go forward and everything at this level eventually ends up in the Supreme Court, who do you think is going to win those? Okay, off to the Panama America. Yesterday, there was a counter story that Roberto Eisenman from La Prensa had given as a gift, a pickup truck worth $30,000 to Silvia Carrera, who is the chief of the Nagle Bugle Indians up in the Chiriquí region. Now, he gave her this gift right about at the same time that all the Indians were coming down out of the mountains to close highways and protest against the mining. So it's pretty obviously a quid pro quo. Here, you take this truck that's worth $30,000, and then, this will be part of the payola for you to bring your people down and cause grief for Martinelli, because we're just trying to make Martinelli look bad. So, because of that, now in the Panama America, the headline is that the people that this woman Silvia Carrera is supposedly leading, that they are pissed off and bothered by these gifts that the chief has received, and they're like, how can she receive a truck that's worth $30,000 when her people are poor and hungry? So anyway, there's some backlash on that. Once again, in the Estrella, leading off with the primary story in the news today, and this is like, when something like this occurs, it's the big deal, and everything else kind of falls off the front page. Jose Ayu Prado is now, or will be once he's confirmed, the new Supreme Court justice, replacing Anabel Salas. He will be on the court for 14 years. Now, this woman, Belfon, she is actually going to be continuing the term in office of, you remember, what's her name, Gomez, Ana Gomez, the one that was removed because of she was appointed by the PRD guys and they didn't want her in office, so they created something and leveraged her out. She was replaced by Bonici. Bonici had to resign because he got involved in a scandal where some drug traffickers had paid money to be released. Then he was replaced by Jose Ayu Prado. Now Prado has been elevated to the Supreme Court, so now here we have the third Attorney General under Martinelli. Her term in office runs until 31 December 2014, so it's a relatively short, 2 years. 2013 and 2014 she'll be in office. Okay. Now here we have, going back to the hams case. You remember the 30,000 hams for more than $600,000 of state money that were donated by Sergio Galvez? There has been a case filed against him by somebody from the forces of Arijan, guy Luis Gonzalez and his lawyer and whatever. Somebody filed a suit against it. Of course, it will go nowhere. Go back to that 5 Supreme Court justices thing. This guy, Galvez, is the president of the National Assembly, so the only people that can even investigate him or touch him is the Supreme Court. And in this same article, it says that the Comptroller General of the country has already come out and said she's not going to investigate anything. So that complaint goes nowhere. Whatever. They're still talking about free ham. Okay. Now, here's an interesting one in Telemetro. Even though the government has been announcing for like more than a week that the northern and southern corridors will be toll-free starting today, drivers don't know. There's still, this is funny, there's still long lines at the toll booths because everybody's pulling up, stopping, trying to swipe their card. There's nobody standing there saying, just go on through. So there's actually a bigger, it's only here, there's actually a bigger traffic jam because of the confusion that the free northern and southern tolls is causing. So it's, unintended consequences. All right, over to TVN. There's an organization called the SPIA, S-P-I-A, which is the Panamanian Society of Engineers and Architects. They are demanding that a company out of England called Bitwater that built the new water treatment plant in Chilibre. Now, they got this contract back in 2003. They've been, quote, building this expansion to the water treatment plant in Chilibre forever. They still have not formally turned it over to the Panamanian government, I suspect, because it's not up to the standards or the specs that were in the contract, so they kind of like can't. Hello, te amore. All right, sorry about that. So anyway, back to Bitwater. Yeah, so the SPIA is kind of saying, why has this plant not been turned over? And there's obvious, they're saying, how come the Panamanian people are being forced to buy bottled water? And that the plant obviously, just blazingly obvious that every time it rains in November, that plant is overwhelmed by the turbidity in the source water of Lake Alajuela. And the plant itself, the way it's designed, it just can't handle the water. Okay, here's one from the Siglo. The owner of the El Prado restaurant in Fiorentina has been fined $1,000 for being a racist. Yeah. A guy went in there, a black guy went in there to apply for a job on the 8th of October, Enrique Ernesto Williams. And according to him, he was thrown out of the restaurant and that there was a scene. He complained to the local justice of the peace, who found in his favor and fined the restaurant owner $1,000. Now, according to the restaurant owner, it was just a misunderstanding that the guy came in, applied for a job. He says, I'm not hiring, I don't have any jobs. The guy kind of like insisted, and basically he just said no and asked him to leave. Now, of course, the guy who didn't get the job is saying that the reason he wasn't hired is because he's black. And when there is a fine or a decision like this at the level, it's called the corregidora, which is like a justice of the peace. It's a low-level civil judge that decides these kinds of things. Now, that decision has been appealed to the mayor because the corregidoras all work for the mayor, no matter where you are in the country. So this will be appealed to the mayor of Panama City. But anyway, that made headlines there. Now, once again, in Mi Diario, they're talking about the appointment, once again, of Delfon, and the civilista community is just, having a cow. They're just going nuts over the appointment of this woman. It's actually her appointment to be the new Attorney General is much more controversial than the designation of Jose Ayu Prado to the Supreme Court. So we'll see how that goes over the next couple of days. And then finally, in Dia, there was a taxi driver has been arrested because he was ripping off foreigners. Now, it just says foreigners. It doesn't say what kind of foreigners, or if they're members of the English-speaking community or Colombians or who knows what. It just says foreigners. He was arrested with a woman. They think she might be his accomplice. But anyway, heads up, cab drivers ripping off people, and it happens. Okay, that's it. I'm out. And once again, my apologies for the interruption by the phone call. And have a great day. I'm out of here. See you.